welcome back to another episode of CMO Peer Talks. We are live from IFA 2023. We're really excited with Kristen Pechacek from Massage Luxe. How are you today?
Hi, I am good. It's finally here, the Super Bowl of franchising, and I get to meet you
in person. I know.
Awesome.
I know. You've been such a pillar of the CMO Peer Talks community. Obviously, your face, I don't know if you can see this on camera, is literally right behind us. And our CMO Peer Talks community is where marketers in the franchise space can come in and learn from other marketers. And this is peer-to-peer knowledge sharing, which is really important, especially when everyone's kind of facing the same problems, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the questions that we started to get a lot when we were polling our community, what they wanted to hear is 2023 and how did you prep for that and what changed? Because in the beginning or the end of 2022, we got the recession, it's coming, it's looming. So I'd love to hear from you if you started to plan for that, or if you did, how did you do that? And has anything changed since your initial plans?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? As marketers, many of us have to think about both sides of the business. Franchise development, marketing, right? As well as consumer marketing. And in downtimes in the economy, typically franchising counteracts what the economy is doing from a franchise growth perspective. Some of the biggest booms in franchising have occurred during economic downtime because people are looking to exit their current situation and make a life that they're in more control of, right? So from a franchise development standpoint, it's time to fish, right? We got to put the money in, and you have to make sure that you have a sound presence in franchise development to capitalize on that interest. From a consumer perspective, I mean, that's tough, right? I'm a service brand. Like, we need people to want to spend on their health and wellness. And luckily, people do spend on health and wellness. That's non-negotiable for people. But
myself included.
Yeah. But we're all doing so much with fewer resources, right? So it's really important that we're staying very concise in the way that we're doing our marketing, our platforms, our technology. All has to be, in one pretty package.
Yeah. Really great point. So I know you mentioned you're doing more with less resources. Can you talk about what you've automated via technology, what parts your team are still in control of? I'd love to understand that tech breakdown.
Yeah, so from a technology standpoint, my team is internally doing a lot of the marketing themselves, right? And so we have an in-house marketing team, which is great, but also requires us to be really streamlined as it relates to the technology that allows us to facilitate this marketing. And on top of that, not only does my team need to have a strong platform in order to be able to operate, but our franchisees need something too, right? So that they can see what is actually happening in their marketing. And so we're not perfect. We're continually trying to figure out ways to be more streamlined, to visualize data, to take advantage of the ever-changing landscape in digital tech, which is like changing every day. Yep, and want to stay on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think investing in your tech stack is one thing, but choosing what pieces to automate is another. So how did you define that line of bringing in a tool and then outsourcing, so to speak, some of the processes of the marketing sphere into your technology partners?
Yeah, it is, you're absolutely right. It's completely different when you're looking at automation within the marketing team. A good example of this is the use of ChatGPT. Right? A lot of my content we were writing by hand, right? And so that's time consuming. It requires somebody who can take the time to sit down and write a blog, for example, to help benefit SEO. Well, now the game has changed. We 100%. Can write through ChatGPT. It's not perfect, but it gives you a nice outline. And that's just one example of the way that we are using automation to better the team and to better our marketing.
Fantastic. I love that you're not shying away from new tech, you're leaning into it. With the generative AI, I think there's a level that it's fantastic. You input your prompts, you get the reaction. Can you give us some examples of what you've generated from that? Do you have any off the top of your head?
Yes. Okay, so every quarter, our team produces a newsletter for service providers in our spas. So it is a tool that we provide to the franchisees to help them create a culture in their spa, right, with their employees. And we just did our recent newsletter, and much of it was prompted by ChatGPT. We did an article on how aromatherapy impacts your brain and how you can improve your health both physically and mentally through aromatherapy. All I had to do was type in, write a blog on how aromatherapy impacts the brain. Boom, right? And then I put in the nuggets about my business and what makes it relevant to the service providers. But it saved so much time.
Absolutely, definitely. How much of that do you leave as organic GPT text versus the Massage Luxe flavor that you add onto it?
Yeah, so at first I was like excited and I was like, this is perfect, button it up and like, let's send it off.
Yeah.
Now I'm finding that you have to put your own business in there, right? And it's like super cool to see it all perfect and just done by ChatGPT, but that's not Massage Luxe, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really important that even if you are using AI in order to generate content, you're doing so with a purpose behind integrating your brand into it. And I think that the game is going to change a little bit, specifically in terms of like off-site SEO, right? And creating content for service, for example. Like all of these companies are going to start to do this. So you don't want the same blog as your competitor down the street that use ChatGPT too, so you better be able to customize it.
I agree, because you don't want Massage Blank. That's another competitor to have the same massage prompt or aromatherapy prompt as you.
How embarrassing.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really great point. What about within your franchisees? Because I know we all know franchisor marketing at the home office is the beast. You're creating the brands, you're creating the resources. Do you ever pass that down to franchisees and encourage them to lean into that, or do you leave the tech experimentation, if you will, at the head office?
So generally speaking, I'm actually pretty reserved as it relates to innovative technology and jumping on the next greatest thing. Like you're not going to see me having a Massage Luxe TikTok account. Should we?
Maybe.
Probably, but when I think about the resources that it takes in order to populate that platform, I can't justify that yet, right? I know it's valuable, but I'm not able to prove out how much time or money I should invest. And that's me expecting my franchisees to do that when they didn't get into the business to do marketing. They don't know what marketing is effective and which is not. And so as a franchisor, it's our job to create a sandbox for them to play in so that they still feel like they have the creativity that they want and that flexibility within their marketing strategy to have a say in what's happening, but not give them the whole playground where it's like, yes, you know, start creating content through GPT and, you know, work with this partner on this great dashboard, right?
And just like shove them
away.
Absolutely. And how do you prioritize what you do give them control of versus what you do retain at the head office?
So it's not a one-size-fits-all, because the reality is in franchising, I could be dealing with somebody who was an accountant their entire career, and I could be dealing with somebody with a CMO, right? Like they could have more experience than I have in marketing. And so I think to answer your question, it's more about meeting them where they need to be met, right? And in franchising, your franchisee's greatest weakness isn't a weakness, because you as a franchisor have a strength that you can provide to fill that hole. That's the whole premise of franchising. That's why it works, right? So if their greatest weakness is marketing, I need to have everything buttoned up and ready for them.
I agree, and I think you've said it before, and it's like a common theme, and definitely within the franchise space, that people are buying into the message that you're selling. That's why they're joining Massage Luxe or your franchise out there. So they're joining as their background, and they're wanting to be an entrepreneur and run their day-to-day. And as you said, you've seen those ebbs and flows in the franchising space during times of uncertainty or recession or so on, because they're wanting that control. So I think it's really important to remember that you need to give them resources so they can be successful, but they're also following the footprint that you've laid out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What about 2023 is exciting for you?
2023. So coming out of a lockdown pandemic situation, I think a lot of people have really evaluated what healthy and a fulfilled life means for them, right? We saw the Great Resignation. We're seeing, changes in the economy, changes in consumer perception, and being a part of a health and wellness brand. There's a lot of purpose there, and I think that the consumer population is going to be more aware of how they're prioritizing their health, both physically, but also mentally. And to be able to play into a solution that can help people with those challenges, that's really exciting. I'm in a good brand. I like it.
I think so. I mean, definitely. I know myself. That's my 2023 actually word of the year is balance.
Love it.
So that totally ties in with that. Do you have a word of the year as well?
No, but I do have like a rule, and it's no stilettos in airports. Kristen is done with stilettos in airports.
You were doing that?
Yeah, I'll wear heels all day. But
I'm not.
I am not doing stilettos in an airport any longer. So it's not a word. Maybe it's like
a motto, a lifestyle choice.
Shortness.
Efficiency.
I don't know. I'm going to be short.
Oh my God, I cannot believe you're doing that. Power to you,
Thanks.
honestly. Wow, that's great. What about bringing it back to obviously franchising. You are, we were just talking about the balancing, the work of life and so on in the franchise space. How do you practice what you preach? Because I know that's a tough one, but how do you in your day-to-day, are you able to disconnect and so on?
Oh God,
the thing is marketers, right, where you're always thinking, and even doing something mundane, you're like, oh, I could do this, like this because it's so relevant for work.
No, you're like asking probably the worst person, don't do what I do.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's hard, right?
Yeah.
I've got kids,
Yeah.
And we're a very busy, active family, and I travel a lot, and I think that taking things day by day is how I get through the day, right?
Yeah.
And that day by day, I've got my plan, and I've got, to figure out how to get that plan done. Yeah. And as long as the work is energizing, you figure out a way to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
Like that saying, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
My lines are blended, and for some people that's not okay. Like they don't like that, they want the separation. For me, like if I had a good day at work, I had a good day in general, right?
Yeah.
And vice versa, right? If I had a bad day, then I had a bad day.
Yeah.
And that works for me, but it doesn't work for everybody. Some people really want that separation.
Yeah, where they close the laptop, they can step away and do something totally different.
Yeah.
I think that's with anything, whether it's marketing in the franchise space or as you said in life, that you need to find something that fits for you. There's not a one-size solution. There's not one thing that works. Something that works for Massage Luxe may not work for the next
100%.
brand out there.
Yep.
Do you have any advice for different franchise organizations or CMOs that are coming up or taking over a new organization or coming into a new system that some tips that you wish you had as you joined Massage Luxe?
Yeah, for sure. Here's the thing, you just said it. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Whatever role you're in, whatever you're doing, if it were easy and if there was a perfect way to do it, you'd either be rich or it would be figured out. Like you would read the book, right?
Yeah.
You read the book. But the reality is you have mystified something that is still mystifying.
Yeah.
I mean, no one has the right answer.
Yeah.
Strategy is just a plan, and some plans fail, some plans succeed.
Yeah.
And my advice to anyone out there is just try.
Yeah.
Just try. And you might fail, and that's okay. But no one out there knows exactly what the right answer is in any situation. It's a guess.
Yeah.
Make your informed guess.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. We talked a little bit about, the 2023 and how you prepared for that, and you just highlighted you want to try something and change something as you go.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for challenges, or do you have any challenges that you're looking to tackle right now? Because I think closing words here could be, we have these challenges, don't shy away from them.
Yeah, of course, there's always challenges.
Yeah.
Everybody has challenges, right?
Yeah.
Me personally, I like to collect all of the things about whatever I'm looking to solve and then make a decision just as everybody else does, right? Make informed decisions. And whenever you are in doubt, leverage the franchise community because that's what makes this conference and this community, these people so valuable is, listen, I may be struggling with something in my business, but there's somebody down the hall that's doing the exact same thing that I'm doing in franchising and may have already figured it out.
Yeah.
And if they haven't, at least you can have a drink and joke about it.
Yeah.
Right?
And
so
you put brains together.
Yeah.
I agree. And that's exactly, we just talked about, that's what this podcast is, or podcast show, whatever community that we've built, where people are able to come in, share your experience and your tenure, what works for you, what doesn't, the challenges, what you're looking for in the next year.
Yeah.
We had one of the biggest advocates of ChatGPT we've had thus far, which is really cool. I think it's great to see how you can use new tech, and you don't have to be afraid of tech as well, because we know this is new and shiny and everyone's talking to it. They're one of the fastest companies to over 1 million users.
It's insane.
And you're one of them, which is awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes.
We learned a lot and want to thank you. Again, we had Kristen Pechacek here from Massage Luxe, and stay tuned for our next episode of CMO Peer Talks.